Hello all, hope you're doing well today. The big news from the politics world this week is that Big Nige has come out now in favour of mass deportations after once poo-pooing them. Now, whether or not this will actually happen is another matter, but I think what we can learn from this is that Nige is sensing the winds of change. As I mentioned, Farage poo-pooed mass deportation a short while ago. He also said he wasn't fussed about the demographic replacement of the British as well, not so long back. However, he did see that that wound up the right people. You know, he wanted to play to the centrist liberals. That means more votes from the centrist dads and a shot at number 10. Now, while it does feel like we're being sold out by Farage when he engages in this sort of behaviour, it's worth remembering that this is how politicians behave in this day and age. It's very classic of the Blairite playbook. It's less ideological and more practical, waiting for the mood of the nation and then acting. Personally speaking, I don't think Farage really has a comprehensive political philosophy. Instinctively, he's a libertarian Thatcherite. However, he's got to walk the tightrope at the moment between the right wing on the one side, who he can't scare off, and the centrist dads on the other, who he needs to get into number 10. And it seems by his recent display in front of a huge British flag echoing the flag protests across the country, which Mr. Ethical, a woke progressive here, finds terrifying. Where do they get these names? I mean, come on, I told you, their worldview is rooted in narcissism. But it does show that Farage is banking on the country moving in a more nationalistic direction rather than a globalist libertarian one, and Farage does tend to be quite good at reading these things. Now, as I've said for a while on the channel, I believe the future of British politics and Western politics on the whole actually is going to be identity. Now, the mainstream politicians in Britain are still very much in the liberal frame, the globalist power structure, so identity to them, for Europeans, is always seen as evil. Of course, it's welcome for other groups. I don't believe that the powers that be understand quite how powerful this could be. A, because I think there's a strength of feeling growing in the UK and further afield as well. But second to that, as I point out on this channel a lot, the roots of this feeling are much deeper than simple ideology. There's talk of homeland, of belonging. These things run very deep in people. I think this is a big reason why present leader of the Tories, Kemi Badenoch, cannot sound the right note at the moment. She was in the Financial Times recently talking about how online, quote, ethnonationalism is on the rise in the UK. In the piece, she speaks about how people accuse her of being a DEI hire. I mean, come on, Kemi, you are. And even apparently question her ethnic identity as well because, she's Nigerian. She also says in the piece that people are saying some very cruel things to her, and I'm sure that's the case, and there's no need for that, there's no need to be nasty. But the reality is here, it's not personal, but the British people at this point are tired of being told they don't exist, and a Nigerian isn't the person to come along and tell them that they do. Kemi Badenoch is a creation of the boomer liberal Tories who are so proud that they have a black woman leading them that they can't stop talking about it. But the rest of the country was over all this a long, long time ago and are now gravely concerned about their identity and the demographic shifts going on in the nation. Now, Badenoch and the mainline Tories can try and explain all this away as, quote, ethno-nationalism, but that feels like a left-wing liberal move to me. What they're trying to do is associate it with some form of extremism and present themselves as the rational, normal ones who'll create a better tomorrow. Yet the reality is, while I'm sure there are many excessive and extremist voices in the ethno-nationalist movement, they are making a very solid point. They have one point and they hammer it, and that is, what about the future of the British people? Now, personally, I don't really see myself as an ethno-nationalist, certainly not a purist one. I see myself more as a traditionalist. I'm even open to small levels of immigration. I unironically believe that you can have benefits from different people from different parts of the world that have been vetted, bringing good food, knowledge, philosophy, spirituality and culture. I think that's fine, so long as it doesn't upset the balance of the mainstream. But that is not what we've had in Britain or the rest of the West for a long time now. We've had enforced mass immigration where you're called evil and racist and twisted and disgusting if you oppose it, while we watch our countries get taken over. For all of my adult life, I, like the majority of the British public, have said, slow down, we don't want this pace of change, stop it. And every time we say it, they double it and call us racist even more. So what do you expect people to do? Not to mention, it seems that the indigenous British are always the butt of the joke. We're always seen as the dregs of society. Here's a recent TfL advert about nuisance people listening to Nicki Minaj blasting out their smartphones. Who do they have in the image? An elderly white man, as if they're the people that are making all of this racket. Same thing again, street robbers on bikes nicking people's phones in London. White guy. Is that really who's doing it? Same in the army. Harassment that goes on there. White women harassing a black man. Is that what really happens? And after all of this, they still expect us to vote for the uni party and say, oh yeah, no, we want more mass immigration, more diversity, which paints us as the eternal bad guys of history, as well as the bad guys of the present. They push you to the limit, and then when you say, right, enough's enough, they say, oh, you're an extremist now. When they're the extremists. They're the ones that have irrevocably changed this country beyond recognition. The reality is that the uni party are done. They're finished. They're overseeing a dying ideology in a changing country. And what are you going to do if you don't vote for them? Vote for Corbyn.
When you bring people together in a creative endeavour through local forums and grassroots democracy, you defeat the far right, you defeat the racists by our organisation together. So Nigel Farage needs to be very aware that we're out there and we're offering something different, which he can't. We're offering hope.
Yeah, but hope for who, Jezza? Because it's not hope for us, is it? When you speak about hope, you mean for the immigrants, as well as for the trendy upper middle class liberals in their utopian multicultural worldview. But despite his clearly bonkers plan to overcome the quote far right by getting a load of ethnic minorities together at a pride march, or whatever it is, you might notice here that he doesn't focus on the Labour Party or the Tories as the key to power, but defeating the quote far right. Now this is a tacit admission that Corbyn, like Farage, sees the growing energy as being on the right-wing patriotic side. Reality is though that Corbyn is never going to get in because the globalist capitalist overlords wouldn't like it. However, Farage has a good chance because he can placate the right wing, stop a real movement rising, and on top of that play back into the globalist system via the economic programme that he will implement. But if we zoom out and take a bird's eye view, what we're seeing is that the uni party only really represents the mass man at this point, the soulless human being, the battery there to be used by the system. Corbyn does offer something different, but it's utopian leftist nonsense. It's Farage that's riding the wave to number 10 at the moment, and that wave is rooted in a nationalist reawakening, something that I think eventually he'll sell out. But behind all this, we're witnessing the beginning fractures of balkanisation. We're seeing the differing views start to form. Corbyn is old. Like Lenin, he'll probably pass on before the Stalinist figure in the multicultural left rises and makes a mockery of his dream. But it's us that will be left with the wreckage. So to my mind, it's time to start preparing for a new era, building deep roots, like biblical Noah, constructing our ark before the deluge comes. This means weed out any inner demons, strive for financial independence, realign with your tradition and spirituality, engage in local communities, educate your children if you have to, away from state influence, get physically and mentally healthy. We must find our own way. We've got time to prepare. Anyway, these are some of my thoughts. If you are interested in personal and spiritual transformation, do check out the sister channel, The Sacred Way. Join the Substack too if you like, and do consider subscribing to this channel if you're new.